Okay, so this is my tutorial of making mittens. So here, as you can see, I started with the wrist part of the mitten, which is this part. And so the first I would do is put 10 loops on each needle. So there's 30 loops on these 3 needles. And how I start off with is I would knit 2, purl 4, and after that I'll just knit 4 and purl 4 and just repeat 4 knitted, 4 purled. So I think I should teach you guys how to purl in case you guys don't know how. So yeah, put this down. Okay. So like I said before, I knitted 2 and purled 4. So for the first needle, knit 1 and 2. Okay, to purl it is the opposite of knitting. Knitting, the yarn is always behind the needle and you would go into the needle, into the loop and make an X. But then for purl, the yarn is over the needle and you would go behind the loop, like this. So purl 1, 2, 3, and 4. So then you just repeat 4 knitted, 4 purled. So knit 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the next loop you'll purl 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then knit 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now there's only 2 left on the last needle, but don't worry. So you need to purl 4. So 1, 2. So in this, the start of this needle, you'll have the first 2 on this needle, this needle as purled. So it'd be 3 and 4. And you knit 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the last 4 you will purl. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so I'll show you how it looks like. Okay, as you can see, this part, this is like this area right here. This is the first needle that I did. These 2, I knitted these 2, purled these 4, knitted these 4, purled these guys, knitted these 4, purled these 4, and knitted this, and then purled these 4. So yeah, just work on that part, and when you're satisfied with how long you want it to be, just follow the next part. Okay, so then this is how long I want the wrist part to be. For the next part, you can either keep the same yarn or else you can cut it and change color. So I'm going to cut it. So yeah, I have this much left to tie the next yarn, which is going to be yellow. So all I have to do is just tie it together. Okay. I also have to tell you guys that you guys need dividers to make the thumb. It can be as simple as just yarn, making loops for the yarn, and I'll explain later why in a little bit. But if you guys I would request you guys use yarn because it'd be easier. So yeah, let's start. So this time, this is the easy part, because now you just knit throughout the whole thing. So like, memorize the first needle that you knit with, because it's gonna be easier for you. So you knit twice, and once you come across your first needle third time, then you will use the dividers. Okay, so let's start. So this is the first layer. Okay, now this is the start of the second layer.
And the ending of the second layer.
Okay, so this is the part where you use the the dividers. So you knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you put one of the dividers on your right needle, and you knit 2, 1, 2. Okay. So these two areas right here is the part where you're gonna increase to make thumb part. So this is the area where you're gonna make your thumb. So you knit the rest. Okay. So you just keep knitting until you get to this needle again with the dividers. Okay, we're back on the needle, the dividers. Okay, so knit the first 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay, put this over. Okay, so this is kind of the tricky part. This is where you increase, and this is how to increase on the right side. So you put this over, needle over like this, so it looks like this, and then you just put your needle through like this, so it looks like that, and then you just knit it. Knit it like this. So then looks like a regular knitting. To make sure that you did it right, the first time I did it wrong. I just thought I knit it correctly, but it should look like a V. Oops. Kind of hard to tell, but yeah. You should knit it. It should look like that. It looked like a V. So just knit the next two. Okay. So this part's kind of easier. So this is the left increase. You just put this over. So it's just a loop like that. And then you have to scoot it up So there's enough room for you to go under like that. Oh, okay. And you just knit it. Okay. So there's a total of 4 loops between the dividers, and you just knit the rest. And then you just keep knitting until you get to the needle with the dividers. Okay, so after you make the increase, you just knit the whole section of this needle. So that's the easy part after you make an increase. So yeah, so it's always the pattern of increase to knit, and then increase to a knit. So the first time you would increase, but the second time that you come to the needle of the dividers, you'll just knit the whole thing, knit all of it, and you wouldn't make any increase. So then you just repeat the whole section again. So I'll just show you guys how it increased again if you guys didn't catch it the first time. Okay, so you knit these 4. Flip this over, and to increase, you just put this under like this, and then you just put it behind, so it looks like that, and then wrap it around, make the increase for the right increase, and then for the left increase, it's kind of like the opposite. You put it over like that, and you just scoot it over like this to make enough room, and you just go through. And yeah, just actually this part. Okay, so once you come back to this again, you just knit the whole thing again. So right now there's a total of 2, 4, 6. And you want a total of 14 loops between the dividers, okay? So I'll come back once I have 14 on here. Okay, so this is how it looks like when you have a total of 14 loops, and like what I said, you have to increase and knit. The first layer you knit, increase, and second layer you knit. So when you increase and you get to 14 loops, then you knit one more time so that the 14th loop will be stable, so it won't be too loose. So yeah, so this is part where we use a crochet stick. So let's put it here, and get my crochet stick. And how I do this, I usually cut out a string of yarn to hold so like this is my yarn that I'm gonna hold the thumb part. So then I knit these 4 on here, So okay. So now I can remove the divider, and I just slip all of the 14 stitch into the crochet stick. So as you can see, you can tell if you forgot to knit if you don't have this extra loop here. Where like it just looks like 2 lines. So basically there should be like a gap, and then there should be 3 lines. But like the 3rd line is like loose part. But yeah, so anyways, you just slip all of the loops onto the crochet stick, as I said before. All 13 of them. And then you remove the other divider, and then you just put your string around your crochet stick and just pull it through all 14 loops. Okay. And then you just tie it into a knot. And this is where you form, it kind of forms a thumb part like that. And then you just make, yeah, you just make it like this. So it'll be easy to just untangle the knot and knit the thumb. So, as I mentioned in the beginning of this, there's 10 loops on each needle. So you need an increase to make an increase. So like that. Okay. And then you have to increase on this side too. So you just put that over like that, and then just make enough room for you to slip it through, and then just knit. And how I do this, I usually make sure that there's not such a huge gap between these two, or like the 2 new loops. So yeah, and then you just knit the whole way, just knit all of it. So yeah, so if you can do the increase and the increase of the right, so like if you can increase correctly, then it'll form like a V shape of the thumb, and that will be this part right here and right here. So yeah, basically you just knit, you just keep on knitting regularly all of this until like you get to this part of your thumb. So then after you so you knit all the way until the mitten is up to your pinky, and that's when you start decreasing. So I'll teach you guys how to decrease after I knit it up to my pinky. Okay. So then right here I have the length of the pinky. So then this is when I start decreasing. And when you decrease, you would take 2, you knit 2 on each end. So there's 2 here. Right here. Okay, and then I just knit these 2 together. And then just knit the rest until the last 2 on the edge, and I knit those 2 together as well. Okay, and then knit these 2 together like that, and then just do the same thing to this side. Knit these 2 together, and just knit until you get to the last 2 loops on this needle. Okay, so right now there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 loops. So then after you decrease each side, you just knit regularly on both sides Yeah. And by decreasing this is where you develop the fingers, and then you make it smaller to fit the index and like the ring finger and stuff. But like it won't always fit the thumbs because it might be too big. Like there'll be like space. So yeah, but it's okay. You just knit it in, so it can't be perfect unless you try really hard to make it perfect. But yeah. Okay. So after you decrease both sides and you knit both sides, you decrease again. So basically it's just decrease both sides, knit normally both sides, and decrease both sides, and just repeat the decrease, knit normal, decrease, knit normal. So yeah. So you keep doing that until you get about 9 loops left on each side, and that's where we'll go from there. So yeah. Okay, so just start decreasing. So right now I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. 11 loops left, so I have a few more to go until 9. So keep decreasing until you get to 9. Okay, so before I said to decrease until 9 loops, then I actually lied. I went back and counted the mittens that I've made previously, and there were actually 7 loops. So right here are 7 loops, and I just need to knit normally one more time on each side. So yeah. So okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna put the camera a little bit higher. It'll be better to work with. Okay, so now I'm gonna cut the yarn. So it should probably like about this long maybe. Yeah, it's about this long, so I'm gonna cut it. Wait, I'll just make it a little bit longer. Yeah. Okay. And now this is where the yarn needle, this thing, comes in handy. And basically we're just gonna sew up the loops, the remaining loops in the mitten. Okay. So basically you just go, so the first loop is go in, slip off, then you go behind the yarn or just go out and just pull through, and then it's kind of similar to the other side, but you go the opposite. You go out and then into the loop, or behind the loop and into the loop. Okay. And then for the other side, like the first loop, you always have to slip off and just repeat it. In and then behind the loop, and you slip off this thingy, the first loop on the needle. The other side would be behind and into the loop.
So yeah, you just keep repeating the pattern or the sequence of for the front needle, and the needle front will be hours, the sequence is hours in and behind, in the first loop, and the next loop will be behind the second loop. Then the needle behind the first needle, it's hours, it is hours behind the loop and into the loop. So yeah, so behind and into the needle. Yeah. Okay, once you get down to your last two, then just let go of it. And then, yeah. So behind and into loop. And there you go. You have formed your mitten. Just look something like this. All sealed up. And now you just have to stick your hand into the mitten to get the loop. And you're just gonna put it in. And then you're just gonna take out the needle. Make sure that it doesn't go into like, any of this, inside of this needle, or else you're gonna get into it. So yeah.
So just fold the inside out and just tie a knot, make a knot from this string right here. So yeah, so basically we're almost done and we just need to work on the thumb. Cut it up. Okay, now we're gonna go into the thumb part, which is pretty simple, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So you just untie the string thingy, and each needle should have 8 loops from 8. As you can see, there is a loop thingy here that is not from when we increase the hand. Like when we tie this up, there's only 8. There's only 4. There's only 8, yeah, and we need 10, so we increased by 2, so this is from the increase. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay, or else, yeah, so 8 loops on this needle, and 8 loops on the other needle, so yeah, a total of 8 loops. Or else, yeah. Or else you can think of it as 16 loops total. Okay. So just leave it like that, and then you just start knitting again. And it will sound, at first when I started doing this, it looks confusing because like you just leave a gap about this much or so, and then just start knitting. And the reason why you leave it that way is because you can make a knot after you're done, after you finish like knitting the thumb. So yeah, knitting the thumb, like it is pretty easy. You just keep knitting until you get halfway. You knit until you get to the start of your thumb. That's when you start decreasing. But unlike your hands, you only decrease once instead of twice per side. So the first time you just decrease once, and you knit, after you decrease on both sides, you knit normally on one side. And then the second decrease, you just decrease twice, like decreasing on both sides, like knitting this part. So you just, so there's only basically 2 layers of decrease. The first layer is 1, and the second layer, you just decrease 2, and then you just knit again. So this is what happens. So I decrease one once, and then on both sides I knit normally and then decrease 2. Okay, so when you do the decrease for your thumb, when you're done doing that, now we're gonna do the design. Usually I just either choose a really simple word that I could just knit, I could just sew vertically, or else I just do a design that I made up and it's really simple. So basically, to make the design, you just follow these V shape here. So I'm gonna make the word hi. So yeah. It doesn't really matter where you start, but it's always best if you start from the bottom and then you go up. So and then you just you'll skip 2. So 1 and 2, and then basically you go to the third loop or the third gap on here. So you count 1, 2, 3, and then you put the needle through the third one. And just pull it through, and then you just make it go in. I don't know if this is a good way of explaining it. I don't really know how to explain it. It's best if I show it in person, but yeah, I can't because I can't meet up with you guys because some of you guys are not here yet. But anyways, so then for the next one, you just go through the loop or the V-shape thingy that you just made, and then you just do the same thing. And then just go to the next one. Yeah, and make sure that if it gets tingled, you untangle it. And usually you would know when you put your hand and you feel a bump out of nowhere, and that's when you know that the yarn is tangled up. But yeah. So to make this design, basically you just make it go vertically like this, or else you can go diagonal, following the V shape or the braided structure of the yarn. So I'll just stop here and I'll show you guys how it looks like after. So yeah. Okay, so this is the result of the the sewing technique that I started to touch, guys. So basically what I did was, for the H, I just knitted up going straight, and after that I just knitted going horizontal, and after that I just knitted going straight this way. And then for this one, I went straight, and then I went straight to the right, and then straight up, and straight to the right, and that's it. So basically, try to find a design that is pretty simple. Yeah.